I think we're ready to start. Thank you all, and good afternoon, good evening. And I'm so delighted to have you here. I'm sorry our audience is so small because I want to talk to you about a really interesting panoply of Thai dance drama forms. Thailand has one of the richest traditions of musical dance drama in the entire world. And when we take a look at the at Thai dance drama in its totality, we get an amazing snapshot of Thai society in several dimensions. And I'd like to try to deal with all of those. First of all, there is the distinction between court traditions, courtly royal traditions, and popular traditions. And we find dance drama spans these two, both the court traditions and the popular traditions. We also have a distinction between male performance and female performance. And we have a distinction between Hindu-oriented performance based on the Ramayana, this great Hindu epic, and more popular performance traditions, somewhat based on Buddhistic traditions, on the Jataka, which is the story of the previous incarnations of the Buddha, who were mostly animals. And so we have animal tales and secular humorous tales corresponding and contrasting with royal tales that are based on the Ramayana. This particular scene that you see here on the opening slide is of a performance form called Rabam. And Rabam is an important aesthetic dance tradition, which I'll get to in a few minutes. But aren't these dancers here beautiful in their coordination? And when you see them on stage and when you see them actually dancing, you're really taken away by their breathtaking coordination and beauty of movement. So drama is always, in every society, a cultural system. Thai dance drama reflects society, it reflects cultural values, reflects religious values and moral values. And when you have any performance form in the world, the performance form is actually showing a society to itself. It's reflecting the basic values of the society, the basic things that people really find important in their lives. And it gives them a sense of identity and a sense of their own community and their own culture. So these traditions embody social hierarchy, which is very important in Thai society. Social hierarchy is a major feature of how Thai society operates. Moral values and also cosmological determinations of how the universe really works and where the moral compass in the universe is, what's good, what's bad, and who embodies goodness and badness. So these dance traditions function in really in this way to try to present these things to people. The court traditions are the predominant traditions that provide the aesthetic for other forms of cultural performance. Brian gave a wonderful lecture yesterday on the history of Thailand, and we talk about the great King Rama I, who was a patron of the arts. And what we find in the arts throughout the world is that the highly refined arts, wherever we find them, almost always have, well, they always have patronage. And the patronage is usually royal personages or wealthy people in the community as a whole. And Rama I established a court tradition where there were actual performers that were living in the court, that were training in the court, and who were providing entertainment for the nobility. So when you get these court performances, they leak into the popular tradition as well. people see royalty embodying and watching and enjoying these sorts of performances. And the performers themselves are in the palace, but they kind of sneak out. They have to. They also have lives. They sneak out. They might perform for people outside of the court, and they take those traditions into the popular field. So in Thailand, that's what you have. You have the court performances leaking into more popular traditions. So the court performances emphasize refinement, grace, nobility, and the popular traditions emphasize humor and connection with the public. But the interesting thing is that they all have a basic historic underlay in terms of their aesthetics, and that's what makes them quite interesting. So we have Thai court performances, Khon, which I'll talk about, Lakhon Nai, and Lakhon Nok, Likay, and two shadow puppet traditions, which we'll also get to, and which are very, very interesting. All theater in the world has a basic pattern, and the most basic pattern for all theatrical production in the world is a fusion of music, text or story, and dance. When we have pure abstract dance, that is rare. When we have only spoken drama, that is rare. What is on a world scale, what we find is music combining with a story and combining with dance and movement. And all three of these actions reinforce each other. And that makes for a very satisfying performance for everybody. Now, what is also interesting is that in most societies, people are very, very happy to see the same performance again and again and again. It is something that they really do enjoy. I'm trained as an opera singer, and I can tell you that there are people in this world who love opera, and they would watch La Bohème every day of the week if they could. And I knew a woman who saw 432 showings of The Sound of Music because she loved it so much. So there's no problem with seeing things over and over again. And what happens when an audience gets involved with these sorts of performances and enjoys them this way is that they begin to focus on expertise and on adeptness in terms of performance. So you get favorite dancers who execute what they're doing particularly well. You get famous singers who hit high notes in opera, or who have particularly wonderful voices. And even though they're singing the same things over and over again, they do them particularly well, and people appreciate that. They appreciate the aesthetic. Not only that, but the meanings for these performances are conveyed through this kind of fusion of music, text, and dance, and everyone feels good about seeing things that accord with their feelings about the way the world works. And the way the world works could be either a reinforcement of the positive values of society, or it could be comedy and parody that turns everything on its head so that you see things from another perspective. But it's all oriented toward the same focus on the basic patterns of society and the basic patterns of culture. So let's move on to these forms. Khon is the royal masked drama. And this was fostered by the court and still is fostered by the state as a national treasure in terms of performance. The masked drama requires that the performers illustrate their dramatic expression through movement and through highly dramatic movement because they're wearing masks. And the masks help them to portray characters, distinctive characters, but they can't show facial expression. And so the movements themselves are the things that convey the emotional part of the story and also advance the plot of the story that's being told. Now, Khon has a singer that is on the side of the stage. The singer is actually narrating the performance as the dance drama proceeds. So you have a singer singing in narrative text. You have the dancers in masks doing dramatic performances, and you have the costumes, the masks themselves, that help the audience understand who's the good person and who's the bad person. Khon is focused almost entirely on the Ramayana, or the Ramakien, which is the Thai version of the Hindu epic, the Ramayana. The story of the Ramayana is really long, and it has many, many episodes and many subplots. But basically, Rama is a hero. Rama has a consort, Sita. Sita is stolen by the demon god Ravana, and Rama must get her rescued from Ravana. And he is helped by Hanuman, the king of the monkeys, the monkey king. And the subplots and so forth all form important plays and plots in dance drama, well, all the way from India to Indonesia. And they are well known. Everyone knows the story, but it's fun to see the story portrayed in different ways. So the performances typically also subtly reinforce the fact that there is royal authority. Rama is not only a hero but also a king, and it's not an accident that the first in the current dynasty of Thailand called himself Rama the First. So the Ramakien and the Ramayana become not only an important epic in terms of the Thai sensibility and folklore and knowledge, but they also reinforce the fact that the king is actually named after the hero in this particular dance drama. So let's take a look at Hanuman, the Monkey King. Fighting the forces, the soldiers of Ravana, the demon king. Okay, well, you can see Hanuman's quite a figure, and the Monkey King is a big, big, big figure in almost all portrayals of the Ramayana, all the way to China, where the Monkey King also becomes an important figure in Peking opera and other Chinese performance forms. So the masks identify these characters through color and through shape. And when you have a big audience, for instance, in an open air space, it's really important that they be able to tell the good people from the bad people. And so the masks tell an audience member immediately who the good persons are and who the bad persons are. And because the gestures and the movements of the dancers are very, very dramatic, it isn't necessary for you to be able to actually see these characters up close. So the drama can be very easily portrayed in this manner. So these masks also transform characters into mythic, archetypal beings, like, for instance, the Monkey King. And they establish them within a realm of mythology and epic. Now, the movement in Khon is codified. That means that each character type has distinctive movements, distinctive hand movements and distinctive leg movements. And they are, when being trained, the dancers train for specialization in a particular character. So the comic characters, and there are comic characters, train in one way. The heroic characters train in another way and develop, again, specializations. Again, a little bit like we have in our own Western musical theater, where some people are ingenues, some people are heroic figures, and some people are comedy figures. So everyone develops their own specialization, and the movements and hand gestures are distinct for each group. So the conventions that are developed are part of the training of these Khon performers. Now let's take a look at the orchestra that is used in Khon, and in fact in really all of Thai dance drama. This is the Piphat Orchestra. Some of you maybe saw the robot gamelan in on one of the tours that we had in Indonesia. The Thai Piphat Orchestra is in fact a percussion orchestra, much like a gamelan orchestra. And it has this one double reed flute, kind of like an oboe, and also a stringed instrument. But the other instruments are all percussion instruments, and they're used for the accompaniment of all of these theater forms. You can see these metallophones. When I was much younger, I used to play in an Indonesian gamelan orchestra. It was a lot of fun, and I recommend it very highly. It's very athletic. So, Khon, as I pointed out, reinforces kinship and moral order for individuals. Kings are portrayed as the guarantors of goodness and cosmic and social harmony. So therefore you get a very positive view of kingship and royalty throughout the Khon performance. Now, contemporary Khon is an international treasure. It is designated as the UNESCO intangible UNESCO intangible treasure as part of the general collection of intangible treasures throughout the world. So we have modern productions which use contemporary stage techniques, but also preserve the traditional movements and dance training that takes place. So we have an influence of Thai dance drama in the American musical The King and I. Jerome Robbins, who choreographed the original King and I, never went to Thailand, but he did do extensive research on Thai dance traditions, and he also consulted widely with Thai dance specialists in order to produce the movements in The King and I that would reflect authentic Thai dance drama. So here's a little episode from The Small House of Uncle Thomas.
House is in Kingdom of Kentucky, ruled by most wicked king in all America, Simon of Likay. Your Majesty, I beg to put before you loving friends. Uncle Thomas.
Dear old Uncle Thomas!
Little Eva.
Blessed little Eva!
Little Topsy.
Mischief maker Topsy!
Happy people.
Very happy people!
Happy people. Happy people.
Now, to be sure, this is a hybrid form. We don't have a peapod orchestra, but we have percussion in the orchestra and a Western orchestra playing the material. But this was an inspiration for Jerome Robbins. That is the actual Khon dance that took place in Thailand, and it's a delightful episode. In The King and I. I'm sure everyone who's seen The King and I remembers this very fondly. Now, I'd like to move on to another performance form. This is Lakhon Nai. Khon, by the way, means mask. That is, it comes from a Persian word meaning mask and masked performance. Lakhon comes from the Indian word natak. It's evolved into Lakhon, which means actor. So Lakhon means theater, and Lakhon Nai means inner theater. Lakhon Nai is also a performance of the Ramayana, the Ramakien, but performed by women, and in the traditional court was performed for women. So it was performed in the women's quarters of the palace. Now today, Lakhon Nai is outside of the palace, and also there are men that are involved in the performances these days. But historically, it was a female performance. Now, what is different about Lakhon Nai is it is not masked. The performers were dancers, but they had to convey the characters and the story through their facial expressions, and they were expected to also sing. There wasn't a separate narrator, separate singing narrator giving the actual story. So Lakhon Nai was emphasized then grace and continuity and beauty, and as opposed to the really, really dramatic movements that you find in Khon. So it's a very important aesthetic contrast, and we'll see this again when we talk about Rabam, another another performance form. So the narratives then reflect courtly ideals, alus, very, very refined sensibilities, refined movements, and also the training that was necessary for women in the court to know what was aesthetically pleasing for people and who are of royal status and how they were supposed to act. The costumes in Lakhon Nai were extraordinarily elaborate, as you would imagine, because they were costumes that were being performed by women for women, and they were luxurious, really involving brocade, gold, and other costly kinds of fabric and adornment. And these were part of the aesthetic of Lakhon Nai because it was really elegant in its styling. So the visual refinement then underscored the aristocratic nature of the theater form itself. So the movement in Lakhon Nai was flowing, continuous, and understated. These abrupt or exaggerated gestures, like you saw with the Monkey King, are pretty much avoided. So here's an example of Lakhon Nai that in a contemporary setting. There's the Pipat Orchestra. And this is the prince and a princess. They are in fact two women. One woman taking the role of the prince, and another woman, another female performer, taking the role of the princess. And this is a mythic story about these two royal characters that are hiding themselves in a cave in order to escape from the danger that their political enemies are placing on them. So you see the very, very elegant kind of refined movement that you find with this. So the palace context was really important for the development of this aesthetic. And as I said, people were paid and supported by the palace to train. And they were trained from childhood. So very, very young performers, 5, 6, 7 years old, were already being trained in these dance forms and in these performance forms. And only perhaps the royal household could really support such an incredible kind of education for their performers. Now, the Lakhon Nai dance tradition continues today. So we have instruction in Lakhon Nai today in dance schools, in colleges and universities, and people are being trained in these very, very highly refined dance movements throughout Thailand today. Many young people, both men and women, but primarily women, are educated in this particular refined dance tradition. So now we're moving out of the palace and into the street. And so we have Lakhon Nok. Lakhon again means theater. Nok means outside. So theater inside, Lakhon Nai inside, Lakhon Nok outside of the palace. And Lakhon Nok emerged from the palace tradition as a popular narrative theater. And whereas Lakhon Nai and Khon emphasize the Ramayana and Ramakien, Lakhon Nok takes its stories from the Buddhist tradition, the Jataka tradition, the animal tales that reflect the earlier incarnations of the Buddha. The Jataka is in fact a collection of stories. Oftentimes it's given to children as Buddhist animal tales, but it has a deeper religious meaning. But it also has spilled over into dealing with contemporary issues as well, and it has lively movement. It does not have exclusively masks in its tradition, but some masks can be used. And Lakhon Nok performers get down and dirty with the audience. They're involved with directly with the audience. They go into the audience. They have body scenes and are generally very, very humorous in what they do with spectators. So the performance becomes a shared communal experience, not only an aesthetic experience that you see from a distance, but a communal experience that involves the audience participation. So the music in Lakhon Nok adapts to the dramatic narrative. But it also, these days, contains contemporary pop music. You're just as likely to hear a Beatles tune in Lakhon Nok as anything else. Like we had last night, we had a great performance from our singers in their Beatles performance. The Lakhon Nok is traditionally found in village festivals and in national festivals as well. It is immensely popular, and when we see these performers on the street, comedy, showing popular stories that practically everybody knows, since they have learned the Jataka tales from the time they were little kids. This is a great deal of fun. If any of you have ever seen, British pantomime at Christmas time, there's something of the same kind of theater going on. British panto, taking stories that you know, Robin Hood, Cinderella, and other stories, and turning them into comedy performances. That's what Lakhon Nok is doing in the Thai tradition. So these, they oftentimes were found in temple festivals as well, and the temple festivals oftentimes were the funders for Lakhon Nok, so that you could actually pay the performers to perform during these particular ceremonies. Now we come to Likay. Likay is popular music theater, and it is wildly popular. It's found throughout Thailand, and it is a kind of vaudeville performance, although it does have narrative stories that are undertaken. So it combines song, dance, improvisation, and melodrama in a very popular performance, and again with a lot of audience participation. So costumes are deliberately extravagant, they're visually really striking, and they have bright colors and also really exaggerated acting, exaggerated gestures, and exaggerated stories as well. So when we find this improvisation in audience engagement in Likay. So in this little episode, I'm sorry that the video is a little bit fuzzy. The first character is asking the audience, he's saying, are you on my side or are you on his side?
ถ้าใครรักมังรายขอเสียงมังรายหน่อยครับ
And again, this is a little bit like British panto, where the audience yells and screams at the actors. Okay, and a lot of the Likay performance is improvised and feeds off of the audience reaction. So we get this improvisatory comic tradition going on. So the boundary between the stage and the spectators is blurred, and the spectators are active participants in this performance, not like the more refined Lakhon Nai, where you're sitting at a distance and watching the beautiful movements of the actors. So it also has become a form of social commentary, and so Likay has been performed on television, in film, and in other popular venues. And it is as an important form of social commentary. One of the things about comedy is that comedy is a protected space in just about every society on earth. You have to go quite a ways in producing satire before authorities will dare to object. Because if you can just say, well, it was a joke, then it isn't taken as serious. And Likay is one of the ways that you find in Thai society for people to actually react to contemporary events, react to government figures, and react to social problems that they may find problematic. So the humor allows these sensitive social issues to be confronted and dealt with in a safe situation, in a safe place. Now, we're coming now to Rabam. Rabam is a pure classical dance, and as such, it is rare. That is, we don't have many examples of pure classical dance in the world. Some in India, Bharatnatyam, for instance, Kathak dancing in India, these are pure dance forms. But in the Thai tradition, Rabam is a pure form, and it's never done individually. Rabam is done in an ensemble, and it derives from Lakhon Nai, the refined movements of Lakhon Nai in an ensemble piece. I suppose if we wanted to be really vulgar about it, we could say they're a little bit like the Rockettes in a Thai tradition. A chorus line that is using a coordinated movement and producing an aesthetic that people really do enjoy. So the emphasis is on form, on rhythm, and on coordination rather than a story. There is not a story being narrated. But we find the spatial design here emphasizing symmetry, and that's where the Rockettes come in, or a Busby Berkeley 1930s musical with a chorus line, as an important kind of aesthetic for Thai society. So the Rabam has now become a kind of ceremonial function. It is frequently performed at state and ritual events, and is found at also festivals and local events as well, where young people within the community are trained and then get up to perform for their friends and family and other people who come to these festivals. The movement is symbolic rather than narrative, and that makes them an important aesthetic. So here's an example of Rabam at a social festival. These dancers represent angels. You can see their wings. So Rabam is also a part of aesthetic training in education. So we have training in Lakhon Nai traditions, but also Rabam traditions for young people who learn these coordinated movements, and they perform in school plays. So you have school performances with young kids up on stage who have been trained in these movements and are showing off for the rest of the community. They're showing how beautifully they can dance and perform. So they learn discipline, they learn timing, and these are all important social values. So it's not just that they're learning to dance, they're also learning decorum, and they're learning behavior. And that is a very important aspect of Thai life. I think that you perhaps, although we've only been in Phuket for one day, some of you may have been in Thailand before, and you know that calm action is an important aesthetic in everyday Thai life, not just on the stage. And you learn this aesthetic by example, and this is an exemplary instance of how you learn that particular kind of aesthetic and behavior. Now let's turn to two shadow puppet traditions that are really quite remarkable. I should point out to you that shadow puppetry is pretty widespread. The most Western shadow puppet tradition is found in Greece. It's also found in Turkey. It's also found in Egypt. It's found in and it's found in India, Cambodia, Thailand, and Indonesia. You may have seen the shadow puppets, wayang kulit shadow puppets, when you were in Jakarta and in Indonesia or in Bali, where they also have them. There are also there's also a shadow puppet tradition in parts of China. So we don't know exactly where shadow puppetry came from, but it is thought that it may have come actually from the west to the east. These are leather puppets, and they're very elaborate. These two traditions, one is called Nang Yai, and the other is Nang Talung. Nang Yai means literally leather puppet, or leather figure. And Nang Talung, Talung is a geographical designation. And Nang Talung is found more in southern Thailand, where we've been actually visiting today. So this shadow theater is also in contrast with each other. So that these shadow puppet and dance dramas also reflect the distinction between the royal Ramayana Ramikan tradition and the popular Jataka and contemporary tradition. So the Nang Yai has huge puppets that are manipulated by multiple puppeteers, and these traditions are or the creation of the puppets is a tremendously important art, a difficult art actually. You can see how elaborate these things are, and the Nang Yai uses these large puppets to illustrate stories from the Ramayana or the Ramakien. And the Nang Talung has smaller puppets that are usually manipulated by a single puppeteer. The craftsmanship, oftentimes the puppeteers are the ones who actually make the puppets, and that makes them really amazing. So here's Nang Talung with a little sample of a story from the Jataka, from Animal Tales, where you have the prince confronting the animals. Our king called the injured army to find out about what the problem is in the jungle. But they all cried and fell down without saying a word. And so it goes. So the performances emphasize humor, satire, and popular traditions. So the Nang Yai, they're oftentimes local problems, local social problems, because there are comic figures that oftentimes bring up satire within the performance. So the Nang Yai is much different. You can see that it's accompanied by a pipat orchestra, and here are the figures of the Ramakien, the Ramayana, that are being portrayed in the shadow puppetry.
As the puppets are made from leather. Designs are drawn on the tanned hides of cows.
You see these very, very elaborate, large life-size puppets. The narrators are visible to the audience in Nang Yai, and not in the other tradition. The puppeteer is down below and not showing himself. So, to really conclude for you, I want to point out that this Thai dance drama is a living heritage, and it is so varied, from the royal court to the popular street theater involving noble and royal decorum, refined movement, and the comedy interaction that people have in the more popular traditions with people on the street. But what is important to understand is that these two aspects of the theater are mirror images of each other. They're complementary. Secular and sacred, male and female in some cases, refined and unrefined, I guess, crude, one might say, and also many different forms of expression. So we have this as a living cultural heritage, and I'm really so sorry that we don't have more time in Thailand where you'll be able to see, where you would be able to see more of these theater forms. But what I'm hoping you'll understand is that these are not just, fun things to see and say, oh my, that's just so interesting. Look at how they're moving, and stop at that. When you begin to really look at these traditions in depth, you begin to see a lot of understanding about the basic functioning and the basic structure of Thai society and culture. And this is why those of us who study theater actually do so, because we know that theater provides a key to in-depth understanding for culture. Once you begin to really look at its history and begin to look at how it functions within the social realm. So, thank you very much for your attention. I appreciate tomorrow I'm going to be talking about another dance form. This is going to be the Kandyan dance form of Sri Lanka. And it is equally as fascinating, but comes from a very different historical perspective. And I want to thank all of our technical crew in the back who helped make it so easy for us to actually do these lectures. Thank you again.